Evening all and welcome back to From the Terrace, by the fans,
For the fans.
And what another stellar lineup we have for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the ever faithful Jamie Nakanani.
Thank you. Hello.
Dan Wiltshire.
Thank you.
And Connor Hack.
Hello.
Hosted by myself, Dan Welton. This week, we're going to be recapping the weekend's games, looking back at some of the big decisions, the big games, and what's going on at Arsenal. Looking at the table at the minute, you would probably be forgiven for thinking, why are Leicester top? Is it 2015? No, it's not. Brendan Rodgers has got them back at it again, just like last season, and another very good win against Wolves. Boys, we'll start at that game as Leicester are now top. How do you think the game went for Leicester, and do you think that they've actually improved from last year and could potentially do a better title running?
Be hard for them. Got Europe, haven't they? So they got more games. They ran out of steam last year, so be interesting to see if they can last the course with the extra games. All packed in as well, as we've said.
I still don't think they're strong enough to last a full season playing at this rate. I reckon it'll be the same as it was for them last year. They'll go until just after Christmas maybe, and then I think they will start to drop points. I just don't think their squad's big enough for them to maintain a push for another title challenge. But then I suppose this season is a bit crazy, so you never know. They might go all the way.
So if not a title challenge, do you think definitely doing better than what they did last year and actually finishing in the top four?
It's tough again, isn't it? I actually do think they have a really good first 11. It's up there with most teams in the Premier League, if I put it sort of man for man. Vardy's as good as any striker at the moment. Tielemans is good. Maddison's creative. The defence is solid. Pereira will be good when he comes back for him. I think he's been a big miss. I think he brings a lot to the team. Schmeichel's top class. Made some amazing saves against Wolves. So, I mean, first 11's great, but like you say, the squad lacks depth. And it was the same issue last year. So it's to be seen, really. Rodgers is managing them well. The games in Europe, see how it goes the rest of the season. But it's hard to judge at the moment, isn't it? You can sit here every week and say what we think might happen, but time will tell.
And just onto the away team that day, Wolves. Wolves have started, no European football this season, but have started extremely slow. Is that something that they should be worried about themselves? Similar to Leicester, they've got a very good, strong starting 11. But as you take away that 11 bench and, people in the squad, probably not as strong as what they've got around them. Do you think they could struggle at all this season? Or do you think it's just a slow start, they'll pick up and get momentum?
I don't think they'll struggle, per se. I still think they're the top side with a top manager. They've got... I know we're saying their first 11's really good, but they've still got Adama Traore on the bench who doesn't seem to be starting any game for them in the Premier League at the minute. They seem to be rotating Moutinho and Neves, maybe to try and manage Moutinho's game time, coming towards the age that he is at the end of his career. So they've still got some decent backup. But again, I just think they're another team that are good, but I don't think they've quite got enough to go to that next level and be challenging for a top four spot.
You've got to praise them.
Yeah, Connor's got to praise him because he's going to be the manager in 20 years. He's an absolute spit.
Well, he's got a personal vendetta against Traore not starting, hasn't he? Because the FPL took a hammering.
Yes, I have. Mate,
yeah, by the way.
It's an absolute outrage. Every week I was looking at it and I was like, he didn't play last week, so surely he's going to come in this week. No, still sat on the bench. The dude's built like a train.
Yeah, I do find it a little strange because he seems to bring more to the team. When he's on the pitch, he brings something different to the team, and they seem to be like a more attacking threat. So I find it quite strange he doesn't start. I mean, I kind of get the idea of him coming on in the second half to be impactful, but it kind of feels like the game's already gone from him sometimes before he comes on.
Nuno bigs him up constantly, though. Nuno's talking about how he loves being at Wolves and he loves having him at Wolves and he's a great player, but then he doesn't get in the team. So it makes you think, is there something else going on? Is he just not fit enough yet?
I read somewhere he's just trying to change the style of play. Like, he's got a couple of cute players up around Jimenez now, Neto and Podence, who's like a little Hazard type. apparently he's trying to change the style and bring a more possession-based type, whereas obviously Traore's the head-down, bully past defenders, which works. But yeah, I think he's trying to change the style of play from the sound of it.
No, it could definitely be that way. If you look at Traore, as Dan said, he adds a lot, but he also takes a lot away from the other team. When you've got him knowing he can be a counter-attack, your left winger is just going to be as defensive as your left back, knowing I've got to cover this guy, because if he starts steamrolling, then we're in big trouble.
Especially when he's greased up.
Yeah, I mean,
Grease lightning, mate.
He's probably got like a year's supply of baby oil that he's trying to get through, and he's sat on the bench not even getting to use a bar of it.
Come on, Nuno. Where's Vaseline?
Come on. What's supposed to do with this?
And then going on to some of the other fixtures, I suppose the best place to start would be the first game of the weekend, where United seems to be hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. Is this another false dawn, Jay, or is this potentially a turning point with everyone getting match fit and working together a bit better, or Everton just poor?
Same old shit, really, mate. It seems to be a constant cycle, doesn't it? We, as you said, hot and cold. That's just it. He always pulls out a result when he needs it. Consistency just doesn't seem to be there in the long term, and that's probably why we won't challenge where we feel we should be. Be a battle to get in that top four. Next game.
And as for Everton overall, it's third loss in a row, not for them, but also Ancelotti for the first time in 14 years. Before that, it was even a very fortunate draw against Liverpool, so could potentially be sitting here saying 4 defeats in 4. Other than some of the injuries, something else is happening there. Yes, we spoke about Pickford before, but should more be looked at as the actual defence? Are they giving Pickford more of a chance, not giving him as much of a chance as a goalkeeper because they're just as poor? I know they're missing Digne, but Seamus Coleman now in his 30s, he surely can't be the best right back they can have to offer. Their centre-back pairing wasn't great last year, but it's carried on to this year. Was it just a sense that we need to hold down the midfield in the summer? And then we've already got decent attackers, and then Ancelotti will now build on the defence.
I wonder with the defence, like, they brought in a couple of holding midfielders, didn't they? They brought in Decore. Allen's a sort of holding type player, isn't he? He's a bit further forward, but he's like holding. Maybe they're relying a little bit more on the midfield to do the job for them, whereas they're not really being proactive enough in the game. And maybe that's having a part to play. But Ancelotti's come out and said that the defence isn't good enough and they need to start sharpening up. I think it's a similar situation with Chelsea when Kepa was creating a lot of mistakes. You saw what he did to our defence when he was in that back four. Back five, it creates problems, and if you're not confident with the man in between the sticks, then it's gonna put a fear in between the rest of the players, and they're not defending as a team at the moment.
I think Everton lack what he tried to address in the summer. They lack legs. They've got good footballers, but they don't really have, they didn't have legs like Sigurdsson. Very good footballer when he's on the ball, but doing the nitty gritty, getting about the pitch and tracking back and stuff, it's not his strength. Same with Bernard. Players like that who have been there for a couple of years, that's what he tried to address with like Alan, Decore, who can get up and down. So when they've had the injuries to like Richarlison, who literally he's a powerful player on the wing, it's no coincidence that when Sigurdsson comes back into the team, they just don't have that energy. And ultimately they've lost a few games.
Apart from what Richarlison did to Thiago, which is unforgivable, by the way, I actually think that he is a top player.
There's only one Thiago in the league, mate. And Silva.
You leave that mug out of it, all right? Yeah, no, seriously, I think Richarlison is a top player. I genuinely think he could play for a top 6 side.
He's a good player.
Not only is he great technically, but he's a horrible bastard on the pitch. Like, he does all the dirty, naughty things that you need to unsettle the opposition side and unsettle the defence. And a lot of that was winning Everton games. I know Calvert-Lewin was getting all the goals, but if it wasn't for Richarlison doing all that dirty work around him up front, I don't think he would have scored half as many. So the fact that he's now come out of that team, I think Jay's right. They've lost a bit of the bite that they had from the front of the pitch. And that's now not given them the breathing space to be able to just sort of sit in games and then nick goals here and there, because they haven't got that aggression up top anymore without Richarlison. I think he's a huge miss for them.
Well, they were beating sides, like, they had a great start, but they weren't sort of beating sides that were top tier teams. They drew against
West Brom,
you boys.
Bayern.
Yeah, they were beating teams that they probably should have beat. They've lost to Southampton. Newcastle loss was a bit strange and potentially could have beat them. But they drew with you, lost to United. That's not a strange for Everton. Like they're not the team to sort of beat the top teams. They never really have. They've never been up there in that situation. So the start was kind of, I think there's been a bit too much. I think Merson touched on it in Sky Sports about we're normally like 15 games into a season by now. So everyone's got it in their mind that we're into the season now. But theoretically, we're not. We're in the start of the season, and teams have good starts all the time and fall off. They surely were never expected to challenge for the title or top four. In my eyes, they weren't. I don't think they're good enough.
And moving on to the next game, it's Chelsea versus Sheffield United. Another fantastic display from Chelsea, looking solid. Defensively looking a lot better, other than the one David Goldrick goal, which his first of the season, just like his first of last season, was 2 against Chelsea. Dan, being the Chelsea fan, how did you find the game? And were you a bit worried when you went 1-0 down? Did you think, it's same old back to last month? Or were you a bit more confident?
I can't lie about this because Jamie was there. No, do you know what? I will say that I was less worried than I was last year. Because this year it feels like we've got the players to score the goals to get us back into a game. I slightly worried because you don't want to go 1-0 down to a team like Sheffield United. It's like going 1-0 down to Burnley or I don't know, one of them other teams that likes to grind it out.
For the best of us,
United.
mate.
Yeah. But yeah, I felt like there was goals in it for us. It was luckily they scored early, which really helped us because it sort of kind of kicked us into gear. And there's a long way to go in that first half. And then once we got the equaliser, I just felt like there was only one winner. We were playing some good football for the first time in ages. You know, it feels like that defence is just confident and feels solid. Thiago Silva's been unreal. I can't speak highly enough of him personally. I know it's only short term at the moment, but he just feels like he's just putting such a confidence into that back four. Zuma looks a different player, and the fullbacks look brilliant. Yeah, so it felt good on Saturday. I enjoyed the performance.
I'm just going to say, if we go back a few pods, I'm pretty sure I did say that Chelsea's defence would step up with Thiago Silva and that Zuma would be the one to play with him because of the France.
Yeah, you're right.
Just like millions of teenagers on Twitter there, Connor, mate. So well done. You're one of the gang.
I used to be a centre-back, you know, if you didn't know that already.
Jay grew up a striker, mate.
Play a bit. He did. We had many a duel.
And then moving on to Sheffield United, just briefly.
Wait, no.
Because...
Before we move on, we got to talk about Ziyech. We've got to talk about Ziyech. He was phenomenal at the weekend. He was the player that I think Chelsea have missed most out of all their new signings, ones that haven't been able to play. Like Havertz has now been out. Chilwell couldn't start. I think a player like Ziyech in that team is so creative, man. That left foot of his is an absolute wand. Some of the passes he was spraying around that pitch was unbelievable. And I think he'll probably end up being Chelsea's player of the season this year, I reckon, if he stays fit.
I said it on the earlier pod, didn't I? When they talked about the signings, I said that Ziyech would be our signing of the season. He's ready-made, whereas the other two are a bit younger coming into the league. He looks ready-made. He's 27. It was like when Liverpool signed Salah and Mane, and they spoke about they weren't buying them for the future; they were buying them for now. Ziyech is for now. Ziyech is a ready-made player, ready to go. Who's going to change our team. I thought he was brilliant.
Lovely player, lovely to watch. Yeah, I also grew up left-footed, so I get it.
Well, even with Ziyech, it wasn't just, this was like his first game back and he absolutely banged. He looked good in the Champions League, for Chelsea. He's looked good in league games. So, I don't think it would be anyone who watched him at Ajax not surprised by the way he's turned out. I think with him, he's got a huge abundance of pace like you'd imagine from, a modern day winger. But he's but he's not a modern day winger. And I think that's the best thing about him is the fact that he is quite interchangeable. He uses his mind rather than his pace. We spoke about Traore earlier, who probably uses his pace more than his mind. But I think with Ziyech, he just has that thing where he almost slows the game down in his head and he can see the run that someone is making and just be able to give himself a yard and make that pass before someone else sees it and can actually defend against it. So I think kind of for stopping the conversation to speak about him, because it is worthy of speaking about.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that, like, I can't remember who it was I was listening to, but basically said that he's not afraid to keep trying, to pick the pass. He won't sort of take a couple of passes and lose confidence from it and, not go for it again. He will keep trying to pick that pass. You saw it on Saturday. He started off a couple of wayward balls, kept chipping away and got better and better. And that's what top players do. They're not, they don't lose confidence in what their ability. Younger players sometimes can take a knock, sort of confidence-wise, and won't sort of try anything again and again. But he's obviously been around the block. Same as talking about Harry Kane. Obviously, just being like, if he misses a shot, doesn't matter. Next time around, he's coming back and he's doing exactly the same thing again. So you see the top players have that in them, that confidence.
Thick skin.
Yeah.
Like thick skin. They're not like having that bad pass doesn't deter them next time they get the ball. A lot of people are too obsessed with stats. Like, we talk about it quite a lot, but it's not about having a 95% pass completion rate. Like, if all they're doing is going sideways and backwards to your fullback, when he picks up the ball, players make runs because they know he's got the ability to find them. And obviously he found Werner a few times. Abraham, Mount was getting in little pockets. But what he also does, and Chelsea haven't really had this in recent years because they haven't had that balance of a left-footed player, it releases the fullback. It allows Reece James to go on the overlap and do what he does. They've got it on the other side with Chilwell, and they've always really had it because their left wing has always cut in. But now Ziyech is picking up the pockets, and it allows the fullback to go on the outside and pick the crosses, which James is obviously really good at.
And just want to say quick, I'm dwelling on Chelsea here because I'm finally buzzing to watch us, but I just want to shout out Tammy Abraham. I think Tammy Abraham's been really good recently. I think he's adapted well with the players around him, because I thought he was going to be the player that was just going to miss out, but he's actually worked his way back into the team. So I think he's been brilliant. So, yeah.
No, I think credit to the Chelsea boys, credit to Frank. Early on in the season, probably this time last month, we were probably thinking, Chelsea have just drew 3-3 to West Brom, went 3-0 down. It could be a catastrophe for them. But you know what? Credit to Lampard. The defence is really shored up with Mendy being in goal. I think the fullbacks are fantastic. James and Chilwell are probably arguably two of the best in the league, definitely challenging Robbo and Trent at Liverpool. But moving on to the opposition, Sheffield. Again, it's a poor display from Sheffield. We've seen it numerous times this season. They are struggling. I know it's beginning of the season, but they don't look like they can even score at the minute. I know they did score, but they don't look like they've got another goal in them, if that makes sense. They bought Brewster for big money. Currently, that looks like it's going down the drain because no one's feeding them any opportunities.
Said this. That's all I'll say. I said this. I said that Brewster, we've sold him for 20 odd million, and he is not the kind of player that a team like Sheffield United need. He's just not. Brewster's the kind of player that needs time at a team to bed himself in. He's never played a minute of Premier League football, and now they expect him to go to a team like Sheffield United, start every game and bang goals for fun. He's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. Championship level is so different to the Premier League. So different. He got his experience half a season at Swansea. Yeah, that's great. He scored a couple of goals for us in pre-season. That's great. I still think he should have stayed with us for a little while longer and had another year coming in and out of the team for us, just learning his trade, playing cup games, playing the odd Champions League game here and there off the bench. He's not going to solve their problems. And I said it all along. And Dan said it from day one. Sheffield United are in big trouble this year.
And as for... That was at the top of the pitch, but right at the back, you got Ramsdale, who's walked into big shoes from Henderson last season. And I don't think I've ever seen Ramsdale keep a clean sheet in his life. And it looks like they're going to be the same this season.
You followed him for that long, yeah?
Well, I've seen him at Bournemouth. I saw what he didn't do at Bournemouth, not what he did do at Bournemouth. And he wasn't fantastic. He was bought for big-ish money probably for Sheffield to come in and feel, like I said, big shoes in Henderson. Do you think Sheffield should have said to United, look, if you boys are keeping Romero, can we at least have him? Don't waste him on the bench. Can we have him for another year? And maybe that would help them ship something. It wouldn't solve all the problems.
Wouldn't surprise me if he does go back there in Jan.
I agree. Yeah,
I read we've kind of backtracked a little bit on the sale. Like, obviously we didn't get Romero out, which we were trying to do. And I have read in recent days that just the lack of games he does want to, like, obviously Pickford, we've spoken about many times, he's making mistakes left, right and centre with his little T-Rex arm. So there's rumours that Henderson's going to push to go and get game time so that he can maybe try and get that number 1 jersey for England as well.
Well, just quickly on that, Pope doesn't look fantastic this season. So, and as you say about Pickford, he's a liability. There is a gaping opportunity for Henderson to really stake his claim for that number 1. And he's not doing himself any favours, and United aren't doing him any favours with keeping him on the bench behind David De Gea at the minute. So I think best thing for him is to push a move in January and just say, look, give me some game time, and every party will benefit. England, my current the team I'm loaned to, and eventually United if he does take over the Golden Gloves from De Gea.
I think it'd be a boost for Sheffield United, a big boost.
Mm.
They need something. They definitely need something. I heard that sort of Wilder's falling out with Lundstrom over the contract signing. It's kind of just a little bit less magic there this year. It seems like there's a little bit more.
It's a bit like Huddersfield. Huddersfield had a very good, well, not as good a season as Sheffield United did, but they stayed up that first season, and it almost clicked into place just how good the Premier League is. And if you don't improve over the summer, then you're not just standing still; you're actually moving backwards because everyone is catching you up.
Yeah, people know the tactics now, don't they? Like last year, it was fresh. It was, oh my God, they've got 3 centre backs and 2 of them are overlapping. This is mental. Like, what do we do? But it's over a year now. You've got to adapt to what
no fans
surroundings are. Yeah, so they haven't got fans in Bramwell Lane, which can absolutely rock in the right circumstances. So yeah, Dan looks like it was a good shot for them to go down. To be fair,
I'm kind of praying they do, just so I can look like a genius, but.
Shout out to all the Blades fans out there. That's Dan Wiltshire, not Dan Welton saying that.
I haven't called anything so far. Bloody hell.
Neither have I. A little bit left out.
Can we go back to the overpriced 11, please?
And moving on to the early game on Sunday, West Brom versus Tottenham. Tottenham, very similar, I think, to a bit like Man United, where not as cold, but they definitely go from hot to lukewarm from every other week. Is that a factor of playing, in the Europa League, which obviously has always hindered teams who want to fight for the Champions League, but always end up in the Europa League? But is that going to damage them as a club, as in then it's going to be another Europa League finish this season? Because as good as Kane is, and Kane has been fantastic this season, so has Son, but you can't keep up Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Saturday, whatever. It does always creep up on you.
I don't know why Thursdays and Sundays are so different to Wednesdays and Saturdays, but it just seems to be saying with the Europa League it doesn't sit right with teams. Maybe it's because everyone else has played before them and they kind of got results in the back of their mind. I don't know if that plays a part.
There's more travelling in Europa League. You've got to go
more
to far out
a
places, lot of places in Eastern Europe and stuff like that. Whereas Champions League mainly mainland.
And also, especially when you go to teams like West Brom who don't have that European football, you then still have, less amount of time to prepare for that fixture, whereas they've still got the whole week. I'd imagine. I've got no experience in that, but it's just another factor which just does go against, the team in Europe. You have a fantastic season to get into Europe, but it is a hindrance. So you do need to plan. I think Mourinho is probably someone in the Premier League who's probably more experienced than most in handling Europe and domestic games. But the fixtures are coming fast for Tottenham. They've got some big games coming in the next 5 games, which I think will make or break their season. If they come out of it relatively unscathed, then you probably could say a top 4 is on the cards. I don't think they'll be quite there to challenge for the title. But if they come out of it, with a couple of losses, then it could be disastrous for both, in-house, where the players are arguing Mourinho and how he gets like when he's back against the wall. But with the media pressure added onto that, things could go downhill quite drastically.
I always feel like Tottenham were an injury away from disaster because they rely so heavily on a few players, especially Kane and Son. And I feel like you take one of them out of that team and all of a sudden they aren't the same outfit. So, yeah, injuries could play a part this year, especially as the fixtures.
Kane's bound to get injured. He's England's main man, and we always seem to get an injury to the main man about 3 months before a major tournament. So I wouldn't be surprised if Spurs do a Spurs and come down with the Christmas decorations.
Even with the likes of Bale, it's very hard to say if he stays fit because we know he's on not just as much of a sick note as anyone. But as you say, that Spurs always do, kind of hang off one or two people. But with Bale, their midfield look a bit better. Their defence obviously has improved and probably will continue to be probably a bit more steady than it has been in recent years. Could that not help Spurs to maintain, from what has been a good start to an even better one if they survive the next 6 weeks?
Bale's been shit. He's been dragged off in every game he's played. Like, he's been terrible. I come back to the point, we put it up on our Instagram when you first signed him. Like, is he a good signing? £20 million to loan a player who's not had regular football and has constant injuries for the last 5 years. Is that a good signing for 20 million? And I could not believe that, 70% of people agreed that it was a good deal. It's mad.
It must have been all Spurs fans. It had to be, because Spurs fans were fucking rejoicing when they got him back. He was like, the saviour has returned. Tottenham are going to be some big force again. Every Tottenham fan was saying the same thing.
They're deluded.
I agree with everything that Jay said. Like, you've signed a player on loan for 20 million who's not finished a full season in 5 years due to fitness, injuries. Like, what did they expect they were going to get from this guy coming back into the Premier League, which is probably the fastest paced league in the world?
He's not the same man he was when he left. Nowhere near.
You know what I mean? You're not going to get the same out of him. Like, it was more of a signing to appease the fans more than anything.
Well, appease the fans. I think marketing-wise, they're probably, and Daniel Levy loves the marketing. That's probably helped them as well. But mentality, Spurs don't have a lot of winners in their squad mentally. So you bring in someone who's won multiple Champions Leagues, who actually won Champions Leagues for Real Madrid, and also won multiple league titles. Have they not brought him in for mentality and said, "Look, boys"?
I'm going to play devil's advocate to you now, mate, because I think the point you've made could be shouted as complete bollocks. You talk about his mentality. He sat on the bench for 2 years, happy to play golf and pick up $600 a week. What kind of mentality is that?
Tottenham have built him a fucking 15-hole golf course at their training ground. What kind of guy does that on loan? On loan, and they've built him a small 15-hole golf course at the training ground. You've already paid 20 million for a croc, and now you're fucking digging up your training ground to build him a 15-hole golf course. You want the guy on the pitch. He spent 5 years in Madrid shirking the responsibility of getting himself fit and playing football to play golf.
Yeah, but
so you build the country golf course in London.
Improved massively. Son's putting has improved massively. So it's not all bad.
Well, that wasn't the only game on Sunday. We had two other ones, one of which was arguably the biggest game of the Premier League in the last three or so years, which was Liverpool versus Man City at the Etihad. Liverpool have an awful record at the Etihad, normally go there and come out with their tails between their legs. First half and second half are two completely different things. Do you want to talk us through the first half, Connor, what you felt, what you saw from it, and then what actually changed in the second half?
I was quite surprised. I wasn't surprised to see us put the team out that we did, because I think I said this to one of you in our group chat before the game. Klopp is the kind of guy that is always going to back someone that's under fire in the media and by the fans, but he's also not the kind of person that won't start a player that's in form. So if you've got a player like Diogo Jota, who's in amazing form since he's come in banging in goals for fun, he's almost played himself into the starting lineup. And then you've got another player like Bobby Firmino, who's getting blasted left, right and centre by the media and by Liverpool fans and fans of other teams as not being good enough for us anymore. And it's got past the point where he is the system. Klopp's going to back him. So I wasn't surprised to see all four. But what I was surprised was to see the formation that he put them in. We went out in a 4-4-2. And I haven't seen a 4-4-2 formation other than Burnley in years. Especially at Liverpool, we've played a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 for as long as I can remember now. And it worked for the first 25 minutes. I don't think City really knew how to handle it. We was pressing from the front. Henderson and Wijnaldum in midfield were aggressive. We were winning the ball high up the pitch. And then it was the four of them just breaking on City's back line. And for 25 minutes, they looked shaking. We should have been 2, maybe 3-0 up in that first 25 minutes. But City grew back into the game. I think the last 15, 20 minutes of the first half, City probably looked the more likely to score. And then you're sitting there at half time after watching that first half and you're thinking, do you know what? For the first time in 3-4 years, we look like we could come away with a very, very good result at the Etihad here. And the second half just didn't live up to anything like the first half. Unfortunately, it was a bit drab. But again, it's a point away at City, so you can't really complain on the back of it. It's a good result for us considering we haven't won there in the last 3 or 4 years.
What do you think, Dan?
Well, I thought similar to Connor. I was surprised, but not surprised at the team selection. You know, it doesn't matter, you know, who you are or how much you come in for. If you're banging in goals as much as Diogo Jota was, it would be stupid to leave him out. As for Firmino, I was not surprised he started at all because he has been the team for 5 years. He's been the ever present. He's always been probably first name on the sheet when it comes to Klopp. Second half, both teams just looked happy with the draw. To be honest, I think Liverpool looked at it and thought they have a game in hand against us. If they win this game and win the next one, they go above us. City were probably looking at thinking, if Liverpool do beat us here, we are a good couple of points behind. We haven't started strong. You know, is our title push over? Probably a bit early to say, but it definitely will be going through their minds. So I think Liverpool come away with the draw thinking that's a better result for us than it was for City. But I was very surprised that City didn't go for a bit more. That could have been because Jesus had just come back from injury. No Aguero. Midfield has looked lacklustre at best this season, a majority of it for them. And their defence, I thought Diaz and Laporte looked pretty good. I don't think either of them are company level or Van Dijk level, if we're going to put into Monday fixtures. But I think they're solid enough to certainly shore up the Man City defence, absolutely.
Yeah, I like those two. Not fullbacks though. I agreed with Roy Keane to an extent. It's kind of been bugbearing me that everyone's been hyping Kyle Walker up again this year because he's not got a defender's brain. Like, I'm not going to go as far as Roy Keane and call him an idiot, but he's a clumsy defender that relies on his pace, and time again, his pace makes up for bad decisions that he makes positionally or pressing and engaging in a ball and trying to win the ball when he shouldn't be. He just makes bad decisions. So when he gets found out like he did with Mane, clever movement, it just highlights how bad he is as an actual defender.
Just one for you, Dan, on the penalty decision, the Joe Gomez one. I know you were talking about referees last week. When I looked at that, from straight away, I knew it was a penalty. Do you think there's been a bit of faux outrage in the fact that, he can't move his arm out? But for me, even 10 years ago, that would have been a penalty because there's enough distance between the ball and his arm. He may not be able to move it, but there's enough distance there to give it the penalty. I didn't see the outrage. I didn't really see why it would be such a harsh thing for Liverpool, really.
There was a few instances in that game. There was the 2 penalties. There was another one that could have been a penalty as well. That I think it hit somebody on the arm. Might have been Trent. I'm not too sure who it was. But they were talking about it, and they basically said it's just the way it is now. If it hits your arm at any point and it's not here, or here, wherever it's going to be. If it's anywhere outside your body, you're probably looking at a penalty. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. So as much as you can complain about it, it's the modern game. It's a terrible rule. It's a joke. I think everyone knows it's a joke. I haven't heard a single person in football who agrees with that rule. So I don't know where it's come from. Obviously, it's come from FIFA or whatever it is. But nobody in football agrees with that rule. But at the moment, that's the way it is. And I don't think they've had too many complaints because of that rule at the moment. Potentially, like you say, a few years ago, would probably still have been a penalty, but debatable. Now it's that's it.
I don't think a few years ago, I don't know if that would have definitely been given as a penalty. I think it's a penalty in today's game because you have to keep consistency across the board. If that's the rule, it's bullshit. But if you're using it in one game, you have to do it in every game, and that has to be given as a penalty. Whereas I think 10 years ago, if a cross is whipped in like that and someone's jumped and his arm's, it's still here it's not like he's got his arm out like this to block it and he's turned and he's pulled his arm away. I think that would be looked at subjectively before. I just think you're giving defenders such a hard time. Like when you're running back towards your own goal, how the fuck, if the ball is then whipped in or it's crossed in or it's shot up at you, are you supposed to put your hands in front of you or put your hands behind your back in your natural motion to get out of the way? Like some handballs are being given and you can clearly see that a player's almost in like a running motion or he's in a motion to turn his body around and it's hitting the arm and it's being given as a handball. I don't understand why it can't just be seen as almost how it was before this new rule change and before the VAR came in, how handballs were dealt with then, which is it's the ref's decision on the spot.
I'm not sure who's decided what a natural movement is. I don't know how there's someone sitting there to decide if someone jumping up and moving their arms is unnatural to another person. When I'm jumping up, the last thing I'm thinking about is where my hand's going or where I'm going to put my arms or whatever. If I'm heading a ball, which I didn't really head a ball when I was playing, but if I'm heading a ball, I'm going to be using my arms as leverage. My arms are going to be out. I'm not thinking about where they are and where they're going. I'm thinking about heading the ball and getting it away or whatever it needs to do to get yourself in position or to block or whatever. So for someone to sit there and say that is unnatural and this is natural and this is blah, blah, obvious ones, yes. But where your arms fall, they fall. I think it's crazy that someone can sit there and decide that.
I think the really fucked up thing is obviously that we've made the point that it's good that they go and look at the monitor now. But when they're looking at the monitor, it's either a freeze frame or it's slow motion, which is utter bollocks. Like, you have to take it in context in real time. Like Dan made the good point about this penalty being, this particular one, being far away, as in De Bruyne has crossed it from a good 10 yards away from Gomez, who, yes, this part of his arm's by his side and it's hitting there. But then there are other ones, like going back to the Leicester game. That one, the geezer's 2 yards away. I think back to the first game of the season, we had one at Palace where Lindelof's literally running like this and someone who's next to him clips the ball up and hits him. Like ones like that, if you're watching that in slow motion or a freeze frame, of course the hand's away from the body. You're running. Like no one runs like that, like a fucking penguin. So yeah,
Sterling.
Like we'll like what you're saying, but the way that they're looking at it with the VAR, that's not helping at all.
No, absolutely. And just while we're on penalties, leading up to Liverpool's penalty, Sterling did look like he was nudged in the back and potentially could have been a foul. If he goes down there, he wins the free kick. But he's been honest, he stayed on his feet. And people complain about Mo Salah going to ground too easily, literally just last week. But he's won himself the penalty because if he stayed up, he wouldn't have won it. Does that not just show why people go to ground and why people do make more of a kick to behind their leg? Because you won't be rewarded a penalty or a foul because you stayed on your feet. What reward do you get for staying on your feet in those situations? If you're
Troy
not getting
Deeney said
foul?
I read it a couple of days ago, and Troy Deeney put it best. He said, no striker in the Premier League is innocent. He said, people go on and look at it like there's 2 or 3 strikers that are the ones that are cheating. He was like, there's no cheating that goes on in the Premier League. This is part of football now. It's shit. And I still don't agree with it. Like the one Salah against West Ham, I say it's a penalty because I'm a Liverpool fan. But if that's given against us, I'm arguing to the hilt that there's not enough contact for him to go down like that. Without a doubt, 100%. But in today's game, as a striker, if you feel the slightest touch and you don't go over, there's no way in hell you're getting given a penalty. No way in hell. It's not cheating. I don't think it's just part of the game now. It's what strikers do. Harry Kane finishes up there for the Golden Boot every year, and so does Mo Salah. And they do it because that's all part of being a striker. Your aim is to try and get the advantage over your opposition and score as many goals as you possibly can.
So is Sterling foolish for not going to ground then?
Not foolish, yeah. But he's not cute. He's not cute with it. But then... Sorry, go on. I
think sometimes as a player, it just comes naturally. That sometimes you just think, you know what, I can stay on my feet here and potentially get a goal still. Sometimes you don't think in the moment. It's only until you look back on it, you go, oh, he could have went down there. But sometimes you just don't think. Sometimes you're so intent on trying to finish, get the ball in the back of the net. It doesn't cross your mind that you should be falling over or whatever. And then some people do have the nous to do that on a pitch.
It's funny you said that. It's actually really funny you said that because I was literally about to say Sterling used to have a reputation the other way. Like he used to get accused of going down. And I was going to maybe speculate that he's got that in the back of his mind now, so he stopped doing it. But then what you say maybe is a better point. He's actually got a bit of a ruthless streak in his game now, hasn't he? Like he wants to be the man that's getting the numbers and putting up goals and assists and stuff. So maybe that's why he's doing it.
No, but definitely, something needs to be done because you can't have a person being honest and not being rewarded, and someone modern day or not going down easily and getting the rewards for it. But moving on to the big game, of the evening, which was Aston Villa versus Arsenal, the 2As, and it was rather an interesting game. Although it was on pay-per-view, wasn't able to watch all of it, but I've seen what I've seen of it, and
I watched it. I didn't pay. Paid secretly.
Is Mikel Arteta Unai Emery's son?
I warned you all about Villa. I warned you all. They're not to be trifled with, man. Don't know what you're dealing with when the villains come to town. It's a horrible team to play against, man.
I've got to stop leaving their players on my bench in FPL. I know that. Ollie Watkins has scored about 6 goals when he's been on my bench, so he's coming straight in.
He won't score for 6 games now.
I know. Sell him. If anyone's got him, sell him now.
Sell him. They're a top side, man, and Arsenal are just a sham.
They're not a top side.
They're not a
Yeah,
top
I was
side.
going to say, are Villa a top side?
Listen, don't go
You got
disrespecting
PTSD,
Villa
man.
because it will come back to bite you on the arse.
Nah, that was
Disrespect them
the top.
now at your peril.
I'm not
That was a top
disrespecting them.
performance.
I'm scared as much as the next man, but I don't think they're a top side.
Well,
Grealish and Barkley look good together. They took the absolute piss out of the right side of Arsenal's team before that first goal, where they just went 1-2, 1-2, little like shimmies and that, and then played targeting to knock it across. So that was like watching Arsenal 15 years ago.
I've seen Aston Villa get torn apart by Leeds. Like I've seen them on a bad day, but yeah, they look great on Sunday against a very poor Arsenal side. Let's say it right. Arsenal didn't turn up. They were average, below par. Aubameyang looks like he doesn't even want to be there anymore. The players don't look good enough. They just look like lacking confidence and ideas at the moment, which Arteta was meant to be the saviour of. Yeah,
he sets them up. He sets them up like a mid-table team. Like it's really fucking annoying because they did a job on us last week, but they are set up for those type of away performances. They're set up to be sponges at the back. Not that it worked on Sunday, and then get on the counter. It's a bit weird.
They don't have good enough defenders to play the way he wants them to play.
Yeah.
Like he might have a philosophy and a route that he wants to take them down, and it's all well and good trying to implement that. But if you don't have the players, you're still going to get whacked every now and again. Like it might be a case for him that it takes him time and he needs time to build. It almost reminds me of when Klopp came into Liverpool. I'm not saying that Arteta is going to get to that level, but when Klopp came in, he straight away tried to implement this philosophy and this change to the gegenpress, and we just didn't have good enough players to withstand it. So we were still conceding 3-4 goals every other game. And I think Arteta's got the same problem. Given time, if he wants to implement his system, he needs to get another couple of windows under his belt to get rid of some of the deadwood that he's got and has to use and bring in the players that he wants. I still think Arsenal will improve, but there's no way for me that they're finishing inside the top 6 this season.
You heard it here first. Arteta is the new Klopp.
And Villa are a top team.
I stand by one of those statements.
Find out at the end of the season which one.
On Arsenal, though, it's not just their defence, though, that's not good enough, because Lacazette isn't good enough to be their number 9. He's proved it. He's been so inconsistent in previous years, and this year he looks even worse than normal. You've got Willian on the wing, who offers a lot of energy, but offers nothing really else. Their left side should be absolutely phenomenal with Tierney, Saka, and Aubameyang all running at you. But as Dan said, Aubameyang doesn't even look interested half time. He's got his big dollar money, and now he's just put the coolers on. So what does Arteta do? Does he continue with what he wants to do and play this formation, which currently is not working? Or does he make a bit more basic and play to the players he has strengths and then actually maybe shore things up and start getting results back on the table?
I think he needs to move Aubameyang back to the centre forward.
I agree.
Yeah, he can play off the left and he scores goals, but he's their main striker. And Lacazette, like you said, he's not performing, he's not scoring. So move Aubameyang from the wing, where he's been ineffective all season, and play him through the middle. Pepe obviously isn't doing enough to get in the team, even though they spent 70-odd million on him. But I'm pretty sure playing him and Willian either side of Aubameyang would offer more attacking threat than shoving Aubameyang out on the left and having Lacazette or sticking Eddie Nketiah through the middle. Like he's just got to tweak little things in that front line. And I think all Aubameyang needs is to bang one goal from open play, and he might go on a mad run then and score in 6, 7, 8, 9 games. But playing out on the left, he's just ineffective. He's being bypassed all game, every game. Barely getting a touch on the ball. Yeah, he's barely having any chances. So he does need to make changes. But again, he just looks like the kind of manager that's now set in his ways, and he wants to do something a certain way, and he'll persevere with it until better things come along.
How can he be set in his ways? This is his first managerial job. He's had 46, 47 games. Normally when you say someone's set in their ways, you're talking about Neil Warnock, who's been here since the Stone Age. Surely as a young manager, this should be the time. Maybe he's taken a too big a job to make those risks and work out things and rotate and try different things. And he's taken a big job where he can't actually do that, and there's a lot of pressure on him. But you can't say he's stuck in his ways because he's not. Surely
I don't think he's set in his ways. I think he's
got a philosophy, and he wants to stick to that philosophy, and he wants to build on what he wants. So he knows how he wants that Arsenal team to play, and he doesn't strike me as the kind of person that's going to change it because it's going wrong. He's just going to persevere with it. He'll make personnel changes in positions, but he'll stick with that same system, the same formation. People like Mohamed El Neni is coming from the cold. They were trying to get rid of him, and now he's starting every week in centre mid. And the worst thing is he probably looks their best player in the last few games that they've played where they haven't looked great. So, again, I think he's just trying to find personnel to fit positions within his system without changing that system.
I don't think this is a system. He actually reminds me of Southgate. He does not trust his defenders, and as a result, he is shoehorning the system and trying to get the best out of what he's got available. I don't think this is his vision. This style of play is what he wants. Like,
oh no, 3-0 against Aston Villa is not his vision.
I can't see a player. He was a pretty silky player. I can't see him being this guy that wants to, keep things tight all the time and a bit of pressing and just rely on two players to do the bits up the other end. I just think he realises he's got a pretty shit squad overall, and he's just trying to make do with what he's got until he can buy more.
If he had better players in those positions, that system would work.
How long do you
having
say
the three
about
at the back with the wing backs, it would work.
How long do you have to say that for? How long does it take a team to have a transition period? I don't get it. They new managers, whatever, but they seem to bring in the same sort of players. What isn't working there? It's like they need a complete overhaul of the entire squad. They seem to bring in the same character of player. It doesn't seem to be that Thomas Partey does look a good signing, to be fair, but it always seems to be players that kind of down tools when they go and get tough. I mean, I think that
Gabriel at centre back will be a good signing for him.
They're not the only team. Yeah, they're not the only team. But
I like Arteta's signings, but what people have to also remember is Arsenal don't have the same sort of revenue stream as they used to, because they're not qualifying for European top table. They're not winning cups. So he needs to take the squad that he's got, get as much of a result as he can to earn as much money for the club as he can, so that he can then buy the parties, go out and buy the Gabriels, who look to be good signings. But until you can't overhaul a squad of 20 players like that. You're not Pep.
To be fair, I thought Kieran Tierney was a good player until I saw what he did at the weekend.
Yeah, that was funny.
I don't know. I personally think but they had money under Wenger. So I just
all teams have a cycle, do you know what I mean? And it takes certain teams longer to get out of that funk.
They must have money.
Yeah, they have to.
I'm not having their skin.
They do have money, but what kind of player can you bring into that club without winning trophies and getting into the Champions League? They're still going to be bringing in the same caliber of player from the same sort of team until they start improving. So that's why they're in this cycle at the minute, which is shit to go through. We've been through this shit cycle of 20 years of just every now and again you have a good season, you'll win a domestic cup, or you'll go the distance in Europe the one year you get into it, but you don't qualify the next year, and then you try and recycle the team and you lose your best player and you try and replace that player with someone else and it doesn't work. They just seem to be in that cycle at the minute where everything they're trying just isn't coming off on the pitch.
Do you think
it's a matter of time? As an Arsenal fan, I think it sounds silly to say, and I know you want to do better and you have to do better, but sometimes you just got to persevere. Know that you're not good enough, but stick with your team and know that given time, he might turn it around. But you don't want to become the club that's rotating managers every 2-3 years with another person coming in who's then going to try and implement their own style and their own philosophy with the same batch of players, and then realise that the players ain't good enough, and then do what Arteta's doing now and put a defensive approach to a system that could work attacking-wise if you had the right players in that squad to bring the best out of them in terms of defenders, for them to be trusted to allow your Sakas at left wing-back to just run free. Let him just roam free. Don't tell him he has to fucking try and as much as he can in that game to sit as a left wing-back. Tell him you're technically a left winger. You lose the ball, you track back and get it. I just think it's one of those things. They're going to have to take time, persevere with it, and give Arteta the backing that he needs in the transfer window. Try and get rid of the players that aren't good enough to be at Arsenal. They've got some young players in there that I don't think are good enough to be at Arsenal, but they're having to be in and around the first team squad because they don't have a big enough squad. You've got the likes of Joe Willock, who every time he plays in the Europa League, you've got the pundits that are doing those games calling him a world beater and saying, oh, I don't know how he's not getting in their Premier League side. He's not good enough for their Premier League side. Reece Nelson's exactly the same. He's a tricky little winger, but he's not good enough for an Arsenal side that want to be challenging for top titles. So they need to get rid of some of these players and start bringing in some new blood. And like you said, sometimes all it takes is one player to come into a club who's hungry, and it just breeds through the rest of the players. They had it when Aubameyang came in. They went on some mad runs with Aubameyang. They were winning FA Cup still left, right and centre just because they had someone that was hungry in their side. They say the same when they had Sanchez. They weren't the greatest team then. They were still at a period where they were sort of on a decline. But when you've got players that have won trophies and are hungry, like you said about Thiago Silva coming into Chelsea, it breeds to the rest of the players and it brings more out of you. And at the minute, they just don't have anyone that seems to be too bothered about doing much for them. It's sad to see because Arsenal have always been a top side in our lifetime. And it's you what I would like the days.
I love it.
I'd like it to go back to the days of when you had like the top four. The good old days, mate. When you had just good managers, good players, Super Sunday, they would make sure there was always a weekend where all four played each other on the same day. Like, now you've just got all this madness going on, man. It's crazy. And Arsenal have just been dragged into that mire of you don't know what they're going to do. It's the same with Leicester. You look at Leicester now, I think they could challenge for the title. Come the end of the season, you look at Leicester and you're like, yeah, they did a Leicester and they fell away after New Year's. Arsenal might have a shit season, but they might win the FA Cup at the end of the season. You just never know. Anyway, move on. I've rambled on about Arsenal too long.
Just quickly, though, lastly on Arsenal, is that they're trying to move away from the Wenger era, and we'll talk about their transfers. But the best players they could ever got in the last 10 years was down to Wenger. And are they missing that name to actually persuade players to come in? When they've got money, and when they've been able to spend that money, they spend it on big players, Ozil, Aubameyang. At the time, Lacazette was a very exciting signing. Even what's his name? He's forgotten about. Don't worry about him. But when Wenger bought a player, Sanchez, he was able to persuade a big name to come to Arsenal because he himself was a big name. Emery was probably a big name around Europe, but wasn't really given the funds to do anything. Arteta would be able to get money for Partey, but it is the fact that they can't attract big players on a regular basis is because they don't have someone who can persuade them to come in. You know, Arsenal aren't a great team at the minute. Mikel Arteta has no track record.
I think they missed the trick not getting Mourinho in. I'm not having to dig at Arteta at all. I think he's potentially going to be a good manager. I don't know. I think they missed the trick sort of getting in Mourinho at a time when Tottenham did. I think that would have been a great signing for them, personally. It might not suit the Arsenal way, and they probably would have hated his guts, but he's a serial winner. And if you want to attract players and that, then that's the manager, that kind of manager you want. He is a serial winner. I think it would have been quite an interesting story to see him go into Arsenal, see what he would have done.
If I'm Arsenal, I think you're sitting there now and they've got to be looking at signing an experienced centre-back that's maybe coming towards the end of his career, the same way Chelsea have done with Thiago Silva, someone that's won trophies at other clubs, that's winding down, wants one more contract potentially. He's not going to cost too much transfer-wise. I look at people like Jerome Boateng or Mats Hummels in Germany. Both of them quality centre-halves on their day, but they've got experience. They're winners. They're winners regardless. Come on, man. David Luiz.
But what you've just said, he fits the bill there. And
what a winner.
He's won so
PSG,
many trophies.
Chelsea. FA Cup last season.
Not having
I'm not
David Luiz
saying-
put in the same bracket as them two.
I'm not saying he's a good signing. I'm saying he fits the bill of what you just said. They've gone down that route. Didn't work.
That's not why they brought David Luiz in. They brought David Luiz in because they couldn't get anyone else.
I like David.
You would.
They're just
What
not
a
great.
lovely way. No, to be fair, Arsenal, they're lacking in a lot of things at the minute, and there's a lot of things that need changing throughout that club up and down. It's not going to happen in one transfer window. So you'd like to imagine that the fans, as well as the board, would give Arteta time. But you can see how fickle Arsenal fans are. It's probably about 3 games away from them putting up more banners. Time to go.
Arsenal fan TV. Straight on it.
God.
They can't have that much money. They've still got like 6 years on direct debit for Pepe.
That's true.
Like, you can talk to me about the fee all day long, but they're splitting it like they wanted Zaha. Zaha was their main target, a proven Premier League good winger, but they ended up signing a guy from France for £72 million. He's going to take. They'll probably sell him. He's not been good. They'll probably sell him before they paid for him. Whatever the fee they get will pay off what they owe. It's just bad recruitment. It's going the right way now with Arteta. I think they'll be all right in a few years, but they're just shit. I hate them.
Very subjective approach there, Joe.
Fuck them. No,
It's just shit, and I hate them. I
Still
agree.
got a vendetta against Guillaume for getting him
I can't-
vanished through his
I can't-
face, didn't you?
Yeah, that's where Ray Parlour ain't coming on.
Yeah, I grew up Arsenal. Like, no disrespect to you boys. Well, until Chelsea came along with Mourinho, Arsenal were the team I grew up hating alongside Liverpool. City weren't a threat. Arsenal were the team I hated.
I hated them. Still do.
It's in my DNA, man. It's in my DNA. I can't believe we lost to them last week.
I can.
Cheers, mate.
No worries.
Couple other parts of the Premier League. Won't go into too much detail about them. One of which, what do you think the odds are on Steve Bruce being the first manager sacked? Because Newcastle look woeful. Because Steve Bruce is meant to be a man that sorts the defence out. He's meant to be solid. You know what you're getting. Water is wet. Steve Bruce doesn't concede. Every single stat where it was attacking against that team, they were top of. Most shots conceded. Most.
Who said that?
Jesus.
Water is wet. Steve Bruce doesn't concede.
No, but it's along those lines. He comes in to shore up defences. And they've come in and they can't attack, as Steve Bruce teams normally can't. And they can't defend. Simple as that. It's not as if he has bad defenders. Rafa Benito's got a lovely tune out of this defence. But he can't. Newcastle they probably would be in a lot more serious trouble if it wasn't for El Trashico at the very bottom. But they're in serious damage if they want to continue and persevere with Bruce. El Trashico is my name for the bottom 3. Get it?
Mate, if fans are allowed in stadiums, he'd be having a cabbage thrown at him right now.
I don't think they're that bad.
No, I don't
St.
think
Maximin's not been on form, and he's probably their most electric player. And last season, he got him out of some sticky situations. But he did things that he didn't even mean to do half the time. He reminds me a bit of what Yannick Bolasie was like for a season at Palace. They weren't great as a team, but every now and again, there'd be a game where he'd just do like some mad skill, and he would fool himself at the same time and beat like 4 players and then lay it on a plate and open goal, and they'd win games. I don't think they're a great side anyway, but I don't think they're shit.
I feel all right. Callum Wilson's bagged since he's come in. Ryan Fraser's coming up to fitness and he's got a really good understanding with him. So you'd expect more goals to flow from there. They've had injuries in centre midfield, which is arguably the most important part of the pitch. Missing their goalkeeper as well, who's been fucking brilliant for the last year and a half. I don't think Newcastle were that bad, to be honest with you. I think it's definitely 3 worst teams in the league.
I won't be
They're
stating
missing
them.
John Joe.
We got him next.
Have you?
Don't worry, mate. They're saving the long stars for United. You don't have to worry, mate.
I'll beat
Brothers of
4-1
Destruction.
mate.
Brothers of Destruction.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Quickly on the
They're gonna
Leeds
will.
versus...
They're gonna will Matt out in a casket.
lit on fire.
Steve Bruce is going to walk behind him with an urn in his hand like Paul Bearer.
Have you seen the picture of the Longstaff brothers? That says on FIFA they're both 5'11".
Are they?
Well, It might not be FIFA. It might be another game, but it's a picture of both of them stood together, and they're like that. And then next to it is that I'm sure it's their FIFA cards, and it says both of them are 5'11".
I think FIFA give up after a while. I think they think, I can't be bothered.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. They know, just look, come on, same game, different title, give us some money.
He probably felt 5'11" when he got dubbed the new Skulls. Unfortunately, he is 5'7".
No offense, Dan.
Oh.
Moving swiftly on.
I never bring up your weight, and that's.
We'll cut that bit.
We won't.
Anyway, moving on. Thankfully, to Palace versus Leeds. Palace came out scoreline wise, looked like a very convincing win, but looking back at the highlights, reading some of the articles about it, Leeds were very much in this game. And it's typical, not typical Bielsa, but it seems like typical Leeds, especially certainly this season where they've played well, but then they just lack that tightness at the back where they're so willing to go forward, so willing to continue with their press that they just allow chances to go behind them. And because Patrick Bamford scored at the weekend and scored a couple goals, he isn't prolific. Although this season he has looked it. If they could put their chances away and seal at the back, they look fantastic. But unfortunately, it's not the case. So does Bielsa need to change anything for them to start, picking up more points? Because Leeds do run out of steam when they play him. And especially in a season like this where there's less games in the Championship, yeah, but the time frame of games are coming quick and fast. So if they want to pick up as many points before they do start that yearly decline, then they've got to pick up them now before it's too late.
Again, I think that'd be all right. No, I do. I think they've got good enough players. I've been quite impressed with them.
Yeah.
I think it's the first season back in the Premiership. They're going to have games where they get beat because there's teams they're going to face that just have more experience in the Premier League. They know how to pick up points. Palace have been in there a long time. They've got players that have been in that league for a long time. And whatever you think about it, it's experience of them games. They know how to turn up on a 3:00 on a Saturday and win a game of football. In the Premier League, it's a difficult league to come into, regardless of how good the manager is and sort of how well they started and the good players. It's just learning. It's a learning curve, and that will happen throughout the season. They're not going to be relegation in my eyes. Mid-table, probably, yeah.
Calvin Phillips is a big miss.
Yeah,
he's a very big miss.
What did you make of the offside for Patrick Bamford?
Fucking
it was his arm. I thought if it was the arm, it's not counted because you can't score with your arm.
It was the arm. He's pointing to where he wants the ball, as all good strikers do. He's a yard behind the defensive line. That's clear as day. He's pointing to where he wants the ball, which is fucking 101. As a kid, that's what you get taught as a forward. We harp on about it, but I genuinely think that's up there as potentially the worst VAR decision I've seen so far. That is terrible.
Yeah, I agree.
And that probably concludes the roundup of all the Premier League games.
I thought someone would follow on from that.
There's nothing else needs to be said. You hit the nail on the head. It's a pile of shit.
Yeah, it was awful. Yeah, again. But just before we do round up the show and just speak about some things, that are up now. Do you guys take anything, fun or good, at least that you can take away from the weekend of the crazy game we call football?
Yeah, Arsenal losing 3-0 at home.
To the top sides, mate. Don't be surprised.
I mean, don't be shocked.
They have given old Gunnosaurus his job back. I'll give them that. That's probably the only positive thing I can say about Arsenal. That's
probably their owner shitting himself that they've had bad results since he's left. And he's like, what the fuck can we do? Get him on the phone. Get Dave on the phone.
He saw Mike Ashley backtrack on the old pay-per-view games.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose that's a good thing. They're getting rid of that.
Yeah,
that's great news.
Well, they say they're coming away. They haven't actually announced what they're doing. They've just said, we're going down a different route. We can't say what it is yet. But, yeah.
I'm sure it will involve some form of money.
We'll see.
Well, they're shitting themselves because of people are streaming. Simple as. And I think they've realised just how much and how often people do. When you said, look, guys, you're going to pay £14 for this, or take it or leave it almost. Can't take the highway, and people took the highway all the way to the streams.
Too much money's going to charity, so they can't have that balancing out. They can't have the poor getting richer, can they?
No, but I think that's the best thing about the whole thing. It wasn't just people saying, no, we're not going to pay it. We're going to watch Ant and Dec or whatever's on TV. They went, we are going to use that £14, but we're not going to give it to you. We're going to give it to people who actually need it, which I think is the best thing, about the whole thing. It wasn't just people keeping their money. They spent the money just on something better.
Yeah. The government did a U-turn with old Rashford, probably because of me calling.
They heard the podcast.
Scumbag. Yeah, I did call everyone a scumbag for not signing the petition. I'd like to think I played my part.
Did you sign it, Jay?
I did, yeah. I didn't have a fucking choice after saying that.
So funny. Did you sign it, Jay? No, I didn't actually.
Wallace.
I did my job.
He said to me before, he goes, I should probably sign that after I've just called everyone.
I hadn't signed it when I said it. I quickly did afterwards. Thanks for that, Dan.
No, but I think that's a good note to end it on, another happy note to end it on. As ever, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for listening, liking, sharing, subscribing. What you can listen to out now, Connor's interview with the Liverpool, Ajax and Midtjylland throwing coach. Connor, John, quick word on that, how that went?
Yeah, good, man. He's an interesting fella. It was good. I heard of him before, and I knew that we had a throwing coach, but I didn't really know what he did and what it entailed. As far as I was concerned, it was just a dude that was turning up to training and showing them how to take a throw-in. But it's a lot deeper than that. There's a lot more that goes into it. And I think a lot of people would be quite interested to see what it is. Do you know what I mean? I was quite surprised with some of the things he came out with. He's got good plans for the future with not just a professional game, but with grassroots football as well. So if there's any coaches out there that do listen to what we do, go and have a listen to that. And, you might take something away from it, but it's definitely worth it.
Dan's fuming you got that. Dan's been in fucking emails with Rory Delap for 2 weeks.
Stole my thunder. Where did you buy your towels from, Rory?
No, but as always, if you want to find that, that'll be on our YouTube page, and you can find that at From the Terrace. Find us online, Instagram and Twitter, From the Terrace.4. And as always, thanks for listening, liking, sharing, subscribing, watching. And over the international break, send us in some questions you want us to answer or anything you'd like us to discuss, and we'll certainly put them to the boys.
Cheers.
Sayonara.
Yeah,
nice one. Cheers, guys.